Hi guys, it's SimLicy here, so welcome to another speed build. So today I am building a sorority house, which I am very excited to share with you guys. This is actually something that I have built before, I think it was way before YouTube and obviously way before we got any sort of university themed pack in the game. And I was so happy to revisit the idea because now we can actually have sort of functioning sorority houses. Now, they didn't necessarily implement this in The Sims 4 Discover University as like a feature, but if you wanted to create a club, you could probably do it that way. I am building this as student housing, and so all of the students that live here will go to school and you can have interactions with them, like asking, I think, about their degrees, and I think there's a few interactions. I'm not exactly sure what they all are, but I know there are some. And then you can also have certain restrictions like male and female only. So since I'm going for sorority, I'm setting this as a female only student living house, student housing, however you want to call it. And so there won't be any males here. And yeah, of course, for sorority, that definitely works. I'm also going to be doing a frat house, and that one will be located in the Foxbury Institute area. And I'm really excited about it. I've been thinking how I want to do it for my save file. I thought about building the sorority and frat houses in the central town area, but then I didn't really want them to be too close because I wanted them to be more like rivals and sneak over to each other's houses and maybe pull pranks or something. I was kind of thinking, if you guys remember Revenge of the Nerds, I mean, that wasn't necessarily a frat house because it was like a nerd house and they were kind of harassing the sororities, but I was thinking that they would be a little bit farther away from each other, so I decided they would be at opposite schools. So in my save file, Foxbury will not have a sorority and Britechester will not have a frat house. But, you could obviously change the requirements and have whoever you would like living in these houses. But yeah, the structure is coming together. I was looking at Pinterest for ideas. I came across this really beautiful house and I decided to base it off of that. I did make a few changes. It's not identical because I didn't add the balcony in the front. It's not as large as the original home that I was looking for, but I will put a picture of it here on screen so you guys can see what I was looking at. It's not identical, it's just the basic shape of it I thought would work for the Britechester theme, and I really just want to use some brick and stone. This stone is like my favorite wall texture in game now. It's so pretty, and all of the windows, and the fact that we can stretch the columns is really nice too because it gave a really nice detail around the front windows, I thought. So I was really happy with the way that turned out. But anyways, yeah, this build ends up having 4 bedrooms. Each of the bedrooms have 2 beds in them, so you can fit 8 Sims. And I thought about trying to fit more bedrooms in here. If I would have made the build a little bit bigger, I probably could have done that. But with the size I had, I didn't really think it would necessarily work. I think it would have been way too cramped. And I mean, there is another spot that you could have another bedroom, but it'd probably be pretty small. But then, I don't know. You'll see when we get onto the interior. I'll explain it a little bit when we get there. But I thought 8 Sims would work perfectly because if you wanted to run this as a regular residential, then you could only have 8 Sims. And on student housing, I think you can have up to 11 Sims, including your sim, if I remember correctly. I'm not exactly sure. I did ask this in my previous build, and I don't know if it was answered because I didn't see a comment. Can you have 10 or 11 in student housing? I forget the exact number. But yeah, with student housing, you have a few restricted items. So you can't place a barbecue and you can't place a stove. So I feel like with a sorority house, you should probably have a proper kitchen because I feel like that makes sense. I mean, I never lived in a sorority house. I never lived in any student housing, so I'm not exactly sure the rules or what's common, or I don't know exactly how they go. But I do think in a sorority house you would have a proper kitchen and the sorority girls would all eat together and probably cook together, and maybe, depending on how fancy it is, have somebody cook for them. I don't know. But I did want them to have a proper kitchen, so I do place a stove in here just so you guys can see where I would place it. And I did try out a mod, and so I will link that in the description, that just gets rid of the lot restrictions for student housing, so you can place anything that you would like. It's not restricting you to place a grill, and it's not restricting you to place a stove. I just feel like it's so weird. with dorm rooms, I kind of understood it because when I went to Sims Camp, they were explaining it as they wanted your Sims to go out and explore the campus and, you know, actually go to the student common areas and really experience Discover University. And so I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But then when going to build a student house off campus, I really wanted a kitchen. Now you could of course place the cafeteria and somebody will run the cafeteria, but I don't think that really makes sense for a sorority house. So if I were you guys, I would definitely download the mod. I did play with it just a little bit while building. I didn't play test it in gameplay, so I do have a little bit more, you know, to experience with that to see how it functions, but building with it, it seemed to work fine. So hopefully in gameplay, it's good too. But I mean, if you don't mind, you can eat a little bit here, but the food is kind of restricted. There are roommates that will spawn a ridiculous amount of food and kind of fancy food. So I mean, you can eat that way too, but I find that a little bit annoying. And so I saw another mod that gets rid of that. And I think if I were to do gameplay, I would use both of those mods because I feel like it's kind of silly to live in a student house without a kitchen, but all of a sudden there's like a giant turkey or a hamburger cake or something else that's kind of silly like that. And I just don't think it makes that much sense. So that's what I would do, but of course you guys could do whatever you would like. But if you wanted to run this as a residential, I would probably make a club, or I don't know, you could have, of course, all of the roommates, because roommates is another feature that came with Discover University, and I do have some roommate build ideas. If you guys have anything specifically that you would like to see, I'm thinking about doing some apartments for roommates, which I'm really excited for, because just having roommates in the game, I think really expands the game. Like, this is a huge feature for me. Like, even if you're not into the whole, like, school life, you're not into university, just having the ability to have roommates, I think, is a huge feature of the pack and something that really makes it for me. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. So you could just have this as a regular residential, get all of your roommates, only pick female ones, and then maybe start a club, and then you could have your Sims have certain interactions based on how you want your sorority to behave. I feel like that's a bit complicated though, so I feel like the student housing is the way to go. Hopefully I'm making sense. I feel like I'm kind of rambly. I built this like 5 days ago and I've been wanting to share it, but as I mentioned in my last couple of videos, I haven't been feeling well, so I decided just to take the last 4 or so days off. I haven't built anything, I haven't recorded, I just spent time at home relaxing, and I feel so much better. I'm still a little bit stuffy, but I was just so sick, and yeah, recording was definitely not going to work very well. So I've had a lot I wanted to say about this build, so hopefully I'm making sense, because it's all just been sitting in my brain waiting for me to do a voiceover. And I love this little side courtyard area, by the way. I think it's so cute. At first I placed an outdoor dining table, but then I was like, you know, there's no barbecuers, so they can't sit out here and have a barbecue and eat. And I mean, how many sorority girls are really going to want to do that? At least the sorority girls that I have in mind, because I was thinking this is a very prestigious sorority. It's very expensive probably to send your Sims here. At least that's what I was thinking, or you know, how I would want to play it as. And so I do imagine that all the girls came from wealthy families. Not all of them will necessarily have the same personality. Some will be a little bit more down to earth and maybe not as girly as the other ones. But I figured as a whole, it would probably be more common for them to be pretty girly and maybe not into barbecuing. But you know, so I decided to get rid of that, and I place a ping pong table out there instead. And I do think about that for a moment here. I also thought about including a swimming pool, and I decided not to do that, but of course you have the space if you would like to. I do place a couple of these lounge chairs out here so they can sunbathe, because I definitely figured the sorority girls would enjoy doing that. But yeah, I placed the ping pong table and then also one of the juice kegs so your Sims could throw some parties. I didn't want this to be like a full-on party house. I think I'll save that for the frat house, because I feel like a frat house would be more apt to throwing parties, and I think I'm going to probably look to Animal House as inspiration. I basically only have movies as inspiration for building anything for university, because as I've mentioned before, I never lived in a dorm room or any student housing. I did go to college and university, and I went for 5 years. I went to 2 years in community college, and I got my liberal arts degree, and then I went for another 3 years and I got my bachelor's of science in geology. So I definitely have experience going to school, so like classes and studying and all that stuff I definitely have a lot of experience in. But as far as student housing, I do not. And I did actually go to school with a few people who, I don't think I had any friends that were in a sorority. I definitely saw some sorority girls around campus like promoting their sororities and trying to recruit people or do fundraisers and stuff. There were definitely a lot of like booths set up in like the common courtyard areas all the time. And then I knew one guy that was in a frat, and he was so funny. He was a lot younger than me because I actually started community college when I was 23, and so by the time I was in the actual university, I think I was 25. Yeah, I think that's about how it worked out. And so, you know, everybody that was usually in those types of school atmospheres were, you know, 18, 19, maybe 20 at the oldest. But he was super cool and definitely like your classic frat guy. But yeah, so I'll definitely be looking to some of those experiences for building other student houses, and definitely that frat house, but definitely looking to movies because that's my closest thing for picking out decorations and, you know, inspiration for who's going to be living in these homes. But anyways, on to the interior. So I wanted this interior to be very fancy, especially like the common areas. I wanted it to be very clean and tidy. I do imagine that this sorority has a lot of standards. I imagine that somebody who owns this house is here inspecting it, making sure that the girls are taking care of the place, and they probably have a maid or somebody that shows up to help them keep it clean. And so my main idea for the common areas was just very fancy, clean, and tidy, and not like a whole bunch of personal clutter. I do place a few pieces of artwork around, so like that picture from Get Together in the first hallway right under the staircase, that is supposed to be like the founder of the sorority, I was thinking, or maybe the first sorority member. I mean, she's wearing like a very classic gown that's probably a little bit, you know, older style or of an older style. And so that was, maybe it's just a really old sorority house and it dates back like 50 or 80 years prior to this. I don't know exactly, but I was thinking that it was somebody very important to the sorority, and that's why her picture is right there when you enter the sorority house. And I wanted to include a large dining table, so that will be here in the dining room. And this room was the hardest for me to decorate because I was really struggling with what to place for wall art and just decorations in the corners of the rooms. I feel like sometimes dining rooms are always a bit awkward because it's like, do you place a corner shelf? Do you place a plant, a chair? You know, there's limited things I feel like that makes sense, especially when you're going for a very less personalized look. So it takes me a while, but I think it does look really nice. And I did forget that we got a new dining table that came with this pack. So I switched that out later on just because I wanted to use one of the new objects. And then other than this, of course, there's a kitchen. There is a tiny little game room where I placed the Don't Wake the Llama table. And this was basically because I had no idea what to do with this room. And so that'll be the tiny room that leads off into the courtyard area. I did want there to be a lot of activities for the girls to do together. So there's also a piano in this more like sitting library type room. There's the kitchen. There is like a little laundry room, a bathroom downstairs, and then also a living room. And then upstairs, there's the 4 bedrooms, there's 2 bathrooms, and then there's this tiny little room that could be turned into another bathroom. Because as I was playtesting it, it didn't seem to be an issue, but you know, maybe if you're playing a bit longer, it may bother some of you that there's not more showers because each of the bathrooms are just regular bathrooms. And so I put a stand-up shower, bathtub combo in each of them and 1 single toilet. I didn't try to make them like community bathrooms with stalls. I really did not have the space for it. So yeah, I decided that that wouldn't really work, but there's this tiny little room, like I mentioned, where I put a couple of research desks. So those research computers that we got with this pack, I placed them in there. And so it's just basically like a quiet study room. I did place desks in each of the rooms, but I thought it would just be something extra that the sorority house provides for the students that live here. And you could easily turn that into a bathroom if you decided that you didn't have enough. There's also the bathroom down here, so if you really felt like it, you could add a shower there too. So I think there's tons of options if you felt like you needed more. I feel like I always end up going on little rants about bathrooms kitchens. It feels like such a weird subject to talk about. But anyway, so here I am working on the kitchen. You will see that I placed the stove, so I do delete it before finishing the kitchen, sadly. So if you want to use that mod, that's where I would place the stove, because I feel like that just is the best spot for it, and where I would place it if I was going to finish this build with a stove. It feels so weird making an entire kitchen without a stove. It drives me crazy. I'm happy that somebody made a mod for it. I don't know, I wish there was just a cheat in game that we could use that would, you know, get rid of the restrictions for us so we didn't have to use a mod. But you know, thankfully the modding community is amazing and they're always making tons of stuff. I've actually been trying out some different mods just in my own spare time. So if that is something you guys would like to see me do, maybe as like a different type of video, because I have been thinking of maybe different types of videos I could make, because I'm always going to do speed builds, I'm always going to do apartments and different room builds, especially now that we have university. I'll do dorm rooms every once in a while, but I definitely want to bring a little bit more variety. I know some of you guys are always asking for Let's Plays. I did do the Not So Berry for a long time. I don't think I'm going to be bringing that back. I know I do get lots of questions saying that you guys miss it. I do kind of miss it too. I really enjoyed playing that, but I think I just took so many breaks that it feels weird if I were to start it again. And I don't know, I feel like I was too inconsistent, so it just really doesn't inspire me to ever start playing it again. I don't know, it feels so weird to have a Let's Play and not finish it. I don't know, but yeah, I do get a lot of questions and requests to do lots of different types of Let's Plays. I just don't think that's something that I'm really interested in doing. I mean, it kind of is, so it's kind of a lie saying that it's not, but I just feel like I'm going to be just as bad about recording it as I was the Not So Berry challenge. But I do really like the idea of doing stories, so maybe something along those lines, because I really enjoy watching those from other people, and it's something that I've wanted to do for, I think, at least a year. I know I've thought, and maybe even 2 years. I think I've thought about it for quite a while, because stories are definitely something that have been around in the simming community for a long time. But I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But maybe mod reviews is something I could start off with, just to add some variety and different types of videos. So let me know what you guys would like to see if you're interested in anything like that. But yeah, anyways, I did go ahead and decorate the downstairs bathroom. It's nothing very fancy. It's just a simple half bath with a toilet and sink, and then there's the laundry room. I decided to put 2 sets of the washer and dryers, the stackable ones, because yeah, I figured a single set would not be enough for 8 Sims living here, and you know, some people would probably want to do their laundry at the same time. That way they could probably rotate it a little bit better. And I'm not sure if playing with roommates or in a student setting, if they're going to autonomously do their own laundry. I hope they do. That would be absolutely amazing. I think that would be so cool. But since laundry is, you know, a separate pack and it's not a base game feature, I'm not sure if, you know, a university pack would have, you know, done anything with laundry. I don't know. I hope so. I haven't played with it that long to see if Sims do any laundry, but you know, I will probably playtest this build a little bit longer just to see how it goes. But as far as everything functioning, everything seemed to work fine, so I will upload it to the gallery. But yeah, I don't know if they will do their own laundry. I hope so. That would be awesome. But anyways, so here I'm decorating this room. This was another spot that I was not exactly sure what I should do in. I thought about placing a bar. I do end up placing the globe bar because I figured that, you know, maybe whoever runs this sorority doesn't really want the girls to be drinking any juice or anything like that. So maybe they use the globe to hide it. I mean, even though I end up putting the juice keg outside, they're not hiding it very well, but I figured a full-blown bar would be a bit too much. And so I placed the piano and some bookcases, so it's kind of like a library area. And I thought that was pretty appropriate because I do imagine the students that go here are going to be very academic, and they probably take a lot of, I don't know, they would be into playing the piano rather than like a frat house. I don't think I would put a grand piano in. And especially since Britechester is a art school, I figured that maybe some of them would be taking electives in music and things like that, so a piano kind of made sense. But there I decided to switch out the table for the ping pong table, and then I also put the juice keg outside. And then in here I placed the Don't Wake the Llama table, just to basically have another activity. There's also the dartboard in here. I was trying to kind of create the atmosphere that parties could happen without making it look too trashy or messy or chaotic. I wanted it to still look put together and kind of fancy. It is so frustrating, by the way, that those lamps do not snap to every surface. You would think they would fit perfectly on the side tables. They do fit on, I think, most end tables. But the desks that came with Discovery University, they do not snap to. Maybe if you don't have anything else on there, they'll snap to them, but I always try to place them, I think, after I place a computer, and they never fit. It's so frustrating. Oh, but you will notice I'm using the OMSP shelf, so I did make a few community posts about this because there was a fix by the creator, and then that fix didn't work for everybody because there was an issue with whatever the update included with the number of slots that certain objects have, and so that was causing an issue for games to crash. And so I downloaded the immediate fix that I think had like 120 slots on the red shelf. And yeah, my game crashed immediately after placing it. And so I have downloaded the other one that has the lower slots. I think it's like 85. There's two different versions. There's 81 and 85. And I think I'm using the 85 and it works perfectly. So I will update the links in my description to have the link to that download. And I will try to remember to go back through and update my other links because I have so many videos where I've used the red shelf, and ever since I've been using it, I've had a link to the download. So I'll try to go back through and update my download links. So if you guys enjoy using it, that one works for me. Hopefully it'll work for you, but definitely save before placing it just to make sure. But I think as long as you're using the lower slot version, you shouldn't have any issues. At least I haven't so far. But I have decorated the landing area and both of the bathrooms. So the bathrooms are identical. I literally copied them over, and that was basically going along with the idea that this is, you know, student housing. The school owns this, or somebody privately owns this and rents it out to the school, something like that. So it's going to be pretty tidy and decorated in the common areas. So I think that makes sense. And then here's that little room that I was talking about. At first I forgot about the research computers, and so I don't have them in there right now, but later on I add those. And so I just figured it was an extra spot for the girls to go that was a bit more quiet to do some research for school that's not on their own laptops or anything, because I don't think those computers function as regular computers. I think they're purely research computers. Hopefully I'm remembering correctly and not telling you guys wrong information. But here you can see I'm going through and picking out the different furniture pieces for the different rooms, and all of them have the same dressers, side tables, and beds in them, and I think the same desks and rugs too. I wanted like the main furniture to be exactly the same because I did think that that was provided by the university housing, and so they'd be identical. The colors are just different because I wanted to do different color schemes for each of the rooms. So I have one brown room, I have a blue room, a kind of lighter brown to yellow room, and then a pink room. And so I really had a lot of fun decorating each of them in the different color schemes, and I did give each of the girls different personalities. I was trying to make all of their rooms not look too messy. I did add some personality with like posters and clutter pieces, but I didn't want it to feel like a dorm room. I wanted it to feel a bit more put together and fancy, like a sorority house, even though I don't really know exactly what that means. So yeah, hopefully you guys will like the way their rooms turned out. But here I'm just switching up the curtains because the other ones that I was trying to use were a bit too bulky, and I wasn't able to put the beds up against the wall because the curtains were kind of clipping through them in weird ways. And so I thought these curtains worked a little bit better. And then I also put dividers in each of the rooms just to give the girls a little bit of privacy since they are all sharing rooms. And none of the rooms have double beds. They're all single rooms or single beds. And then there's no closets either, the ones from Get Together. And I guess their only option for woohooing in the house is the showers. So at least that's possible. I kind of wish I would have included a walk-in closet somewhere. I don't know. I feel like, especially with like university, I should have options for students to woohoo in different places. That's another thing that I always start talking about in certain builds, and I'm like, this is such a weird thing to talk about, but you know, I want it to be an option. It's part of the game. But here I'm just picking out the rugs. I decided to go with this one because it came in all of the perfect colors to match the different bedrooms. And then the first bedroom that I decorate is going to be the pink one, and in here I think this is the room that has the least specific personality. I mean, it has personality to it. I still added decoration and like clutter and things that I thought looked cute, but I think in this room, compared to the other ones, I was more going for color that matched the theme rather than personality. Hopefully that makes sense, but I really enjoyed decorating each of the rooms. I really just have a lot of fun when I'm going for a specific theme, or you know, whether that goes for hobbies or just colors. I think it's a lot of fun just trying to find things that go well together. And so I think this room out of all of them goes more along with the colors rather than that. But like I said, each of them have their own desks, side tables, dressers, and beds too. I decided to go with this bed because it was more fancier. It came with Discover University and it came in so many different swatches. This one out of all of the rooms though didn't come in like pink swatches, so I used the white and then the more cream colored. I really wish it would have came in a pink version. That would have been perfect. But either way, I still think they work really nicely for this room, and it makes the pink not too over the top because sometimes it can be pretty dominating. But I love the pink bulletin board, and then the pink chair I thought was really cute too. And there is a violin in here, so I thought that was really nice because, I mean, Britechester is an art school, like I've mentioned before. And then here I'm moving on into the brown themed room, and this one is probably my favorite room. Yeah, I think so. This one and the blue one I think are my favorites, but the brown room is where I had my Sims stay when I was playtesting it because I think the colors are just so pretty. This half of the room I was going for a Sim that loves to travel, and so they probably want to be, I don't really know exactly what they want to be, a photographer, maybe they want to be a journalist and travel that way. I don't know, but I put this bulletin board here with a bunch of postcards. I basically used all the postcards from my first pet stuff because they're the more travel-y looking one. And then I also used the bulletin board from Discover University because this one has like it looks like a landmass. It looks like kind of like a map and maybe the different places that they've been. And I also end up giving them a camera and then also that picture frame thing so they can take pictures and display them there, you know, of either their friends or different scenery pictures that they like to take. And then the other half of the room, I was originally going to go for a sports theme. So you'll notice the first few decorations that I placed down are more sports related, but then I decided for the colors and the theme that I wanted to go for, an artsy student would work better over here, and I decided to save the sports theme for the blue room because I thought the objects would just match better color-wise. And so the color schemes were a big part of my thought process while doing this, and it's probably not that realistic because you're probably going to get whatever room you get, and your items may not necessarily match, but you know what? That's the way I like to decorate, so that's what I went for. And I love that little dragon statue. It's so cute. And of course it goes with the whole Britechester theme. And I put some sketches. They also have their own art easel and also a drawing tablet. And then I also used this kind of banner decoration that came from Get Together that has the paintbrush with the palette. It's so cute. I used a lot of Get Together. Well, not a lot of, but a few of those objects from Get Together in the different little bedroom areas to show their personalities and things like that. So yeah, that one worked perfectly. But moving on into the blue room. So in the blue room, at first I wasn't too sure exactly what I wanted to do theme wise. I know I want to do the sports character, so that's the side that I decorated first, and I used the soccer ball. I used some different sports related objects, and this time I decided not to go very Britechester themed because we do have a few banners and things that are blue colored from the Discover University pack, so I decided to use that instead, and I really loved that. And I used a few different posters, that playbook, and a few different sports decorations that we got from other packs. And then this side of the room, I decided to go with a student who loves animals and they want to become a veterinarian. So maybe they actually had their heart set on going to Foxbury University, and maybe their parents actually wanted them to join a sorority, and their parents were going to cover their education, and so she basically had to go live in the sorority because her parents wanted her to, even though her degree would be better suited for the other school. I don't know, you guys can of course play with it any way you would like to and create your own stories and things depending on if you want to play with this type of sim. Of course, they can just be your roommates and it doesn't really matter their story too much. I mean, actually, something I did want to mention, I was playing around with this a little bit, so I don't know if it fully works. I mean, it seemed to, but if you turn on testing sheets and then you shift click on a sim that isn't part of your household, you can go into create a sim and customize their outfits and their appearance. And I am really excited that that seemed to work for roommates, because then you can kind of give them your own outfits and personalize it more to your own gameplay. So I was really excited to see that that works. And yeah, because I don't really like the outfits that they're automatically spawned wearing. But anyways, here I'm decorating the last room. This half of the bedroom is for a sim that's very into school. I was thinking along the lines of one of the dorm rooms that I decorated recently for a student that's part of the school newspaper or student council. They do the yearbook, those types of things. So I put some more book related objects over there. And then this half of the room is for a student that wants to become a chef or own a restaurant, something like that. So I used a few more objects that have some culinary related, I don't know, illustrations or drawings on them. But either way, I think I made it work with the poster and the objects from Get Together. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed the way all of these rooms turned out. If you guys are going to play with a sorority or with this sorority, definitely let me know. But thank you so much for watching, and please leave any comments or suggestions that you have, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!
I wanna jump around when I think about yesterday. Your smile, your style so fly, my oh my. As time stood still, I got the urge to steal a kiss, and so I did. Now I'm embarrassed, but just a little bit.